Hey everybody, it's Joel here with DesignFlow Labs, and we are back with the next video that is part of our blog series where we're building here as we look at how we're advancing our capabilities relative to our low-code collaboration and automation platform. So today we're going to take things one step further, talk a little bit more about, again, how you can really start to pivot towards a true sense of maturity when you're leveraging these types of platforms as it relates to your day-to-day business operations. So just a quick recap, last video, last blog post, we took a step out of our initial build where, we were managing projects in a spreadsheet. We brought those projects into a low-code collaboration and automation platform called Podio. We showed you how we can start to collaborate in real time around those projects inside of our platform. We talked about how we can add additional categorization, and organization around our data and our information. Having that categorization and organization of that information really allows us then to start to take our initial steps into automation and workflows, right? Kind of our traditional if-then type workflows where maybe a project status moves from A to B, where once we get to project status B, we're taking some kind of actions, right? In the case of what we did last time, and we might see it again here in a few minutes when we get into the actual demo, is we took our project and said when we move from stage pre-flight into in progress, we want to create a new milestone that is called schedule customer project kickoff meeting, right? And there could be a whole lot of orchestrated actions that are part of your projects day to day that you could bring additional automation to as we build things out. Finally, we talked about how to start integrating this automation, these capabilities into our overall business strategy. And what we did is we started to talk about really just getting a feel for what other ideas and possibilities might be out there. A lot of times when you ask different departments, different teams within your organization, you'll get really good feedback around maybe some processes that really kind of bog them down or that cause a lot of bottlenecks where, having better collaboration amongst teams or better automation in place would really help free them up, to focus on things that really matter to both them, their teams internally, as well as your customers. So we'll take that a step further today as well. So where are we going today in this video, in this demo? So what we want to do is we want to talk about kind of pivoting towards a digitally unified business. And what I mean is that, we're starting to move from this spot where we've got a system of record, we've got some data points, we've got some information, we've got some people within one, maybe two teams working together. But what we're really doing is now we're starting to understand a lot of the capabilities we have, and we're starting to apply those capabilities across different parts of the organization here. So, we're going to talk about, how we continue to foster real-time collaboration. Not everybody works, same hours, same time, same day. So how can we move to more of an asynchronous collaboration type setup? How can we continue to cultivate data-driven decisions, right? Once we have a good handle on how we're organizing information and how we're reporting on it, then we can start to make some data-driven decisions around, different elements of our business. At this point, in maturity, we're starting to really scale our process efficiency. So again, we're looking at all of these steps in any given process and asking ourselves, is this something that happens often? Is this something that, happens often with the same kind of procedure, same kind of steps every single time? If so, we really should look at driving some automation around that and helping guide our employees through that process. And then finally, we'll take another step forward in terms of not just building an automation strategy, but really starting to align that strategy to overall business objectives. So we'll talk through some of those things as we get into our demo here today. Okay. So we're back here at our new workspace. This is the workspace we've been building off of as we've worked through these blog posts and these videos. Where we're at right now is we've got basically a workspace where Like I said earlier, it started with our project team being able to come in and manage projects. We started to build some automation around different project stages and how those generate specific milestones per stage. We started to pull in the sales organization, right? So the project team really operates much better when they know what types of projects and opportunities the sales organization might be working on. So we started to pull some of that data and some of that collaboration into our workspace as well. And if you recall, we even started to generate, at the time we called them automation ideas, where we allowed for people in the organization to submit different ideas for automation. We were capturing those requests, having the team review those. And today we're going to take that one step further in terms of collaboration and automation, and moving those to actual automation initiatives or automation work. So we'll talk through that as we go. Now, one thing you'll notice here, just to touch on kind of the data and information side of things, and we talked a minute ago about cultivating data-driven decisions. There's not a lot of data in here, so it's kind of hard to demo. But what you can start to see here is that if we were to look at certain metrics in the organization, right? We know as work comes in, work needs to be scheduled, resources need to be applied to that work or those projects to complete it. We would be able to start tying these things together from a reporting perspective to say, all right, do we have the right amount of resources? Do we have the right amount, of project team available to help really take on the things that might be coming through, from an opportunity perspective? And then how can we also, in turn, have those project teams, help us better shape, some of these contracts and opportunities given their experience they've had with other customers. So, again, like we talked about before, the more they know about these projects that are coming up, when they're coming up, the better equipped the project teams will be to say, you know what, right now we're probably sitting in a pretty good spot because we've only got one milestone past due. We can see that's really just, our support account has that one. If we were to go click into that and take a look, we can see that that's just a customer kickoff call. I'm not too worried. The team is not totally overloaded, with things that are past due. Now, if these past due milestones, were greater in number and we could see some trends like maybe one or two people are really taking on a bulk of the work and things are getting pushed past due, well, then we probably need to start making some decisions around how we resource these projects, bringing on additional resources, so on and so forth. Now, same can be said here for open automation requests. Right now we're kind of combining this workspace. It's a little bit of not a best practice, right? We don't really want to kind of conflate our client work with our internal work. But again, because we're just kind of maturing into this and getting our initial, steps into this process, we do have these things in a common workspace. We'll talk a little bit about how to separate that out here in a minute. But you can see here that maybe, for example, our project resources that are helping our clients, maybe they're also the ones responsible for helping build additional capabilities internally. And again, same thing kind of holds. We're not past due on anything. There's not a lot of bottleneck or backlog in the milestones and the projects. And we can see that there's no open automation requests. So again, we're in pretty good shape. But what we want to do is we want to start taking things to the next level. So we want to introduce additional layers of communication and collaboration. We want to show you how you can continue to push these processes, from step to step to step, introducing additional elements of automation as we go. And so we'll start by doing that here with our automation idea form. All right. So if we recall, basically what we did is we built this app. We're now calling it automation requests. Previously it was ideas, but now we're calling it requests. And team members have the ability to, go to this link here. Maybe they don't live inside of the Podio workspace or they're not inside of Podio at all, but they can come to this web form and they can submit, their ideas, on how to better utilize things like automation and collaboration given the platforms that we've introduced to them. So One of the things that we're going to introduce is maybe, maybe somebody internally saw the potential for additional automation around the work they're doing with HR projects, right? HR is always one of those teams that, is taking a lot of requests, a lot of questions, dealing with a lot of things. So maybe somebody recognized, hey, there's maybe a possibility for us to help streamline some of that work. So we're going to come in and submit an idea to the request form, better optimize HR onboarding. So currently the HR team is managing employees coming on board in different to-do applications and lists. There really isn't a cohesive approach to this work. Further, new questions and inquiries. Sorry, I'm just making this up as I go. Coming into the HR team, go into an Outlook inbox with no follow-up or status. Okay, so I'm going to say this is, just as an outsider or somebody in the organization, this is probably something, new we need to build, and I'm going to submit my request. So I can go ahead and close that. And again, because we are all working in one central workspace, I can see that comes into the activity feed here. I can click that and I can say, you know what, let's come take a look at that. So I can see here that, we've got our idea notes. We've got, the name that came in, obviously. We can see they check this as something new to build. You know what, I'm gonna move this in progress and start doing some research. So as I'm doing my research, maybe one of the things I realize is, you know what, this is not just something I can go, as an engineer or somebody who's taking these requests and quickly build myself. Maybe it's a larger initiative, right? Maybe we need to sit down with the HR organization, really understand how it is that they work, the different processes and workflows that they have. Maybe we need to show them some different capabilities that we could bring to the table from an automation perspective. So rather than me just tackle this as a general request, maybe one of the things I need to do is get approval to move this to an actual automation project. So what I'm going to do here, and again, this is kind of along the name or along the lines of collaboration, and data flow. What I'm going to do is come in and I'm going to say, you know what, design flow needs to approve this, and I'm going to go ahead and send this for approval. So rather than going and grabbing this individual, pulling them in, what we can do is we can leverage workflows, to send them information. Right now, this email is fairly general, and we will get an email here in just a second with our approval. So what we're doing is we're taking this information and saying, okay, I need to assign this to somebody to review and approve. What I'm going to do is leverage, again, our data organization and categorization. I'm going to leverage this category field to trigger a workflow that sends this for approval. So let's go over here and check our email. This is just a very basic email flow, but now we can see that an email was sent to our approver. It came from the Podio internal focus project approvals team. That's a mouthful. But basically it gives them, a little bit of an overview around the project or the request, lets us know kind of what the team's looking to do. I know my role as an approver is to look at these things and kind of say, which way do we send this? Is this just a quick, easy request that the team can handle and just make the change or make a fix? Or is this something bigger that we need to sit down and really review and talk about and treat as a full internal project? So I understand that latter scenario is the case here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you know what? I need to approve this thing. I need to approve this being moved to a full internal project. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. and we're going to see a couple things happen. We're going to see that our status was moved to automation initiative. We're going to see our project approval was marked as approved. And if I refresh here, we'll now see we have a new related item underneath our application automation work that is a dedicated project, again, to go actually build this out. So, very easily we can handle, again, kind of that daisy chain of next steps, right? What happens here? Who needs to be aware of it? Who needs to approve it? Who needs to look at it? What do we do with it? And based on those inputs and criteria, what is it then we need to create and kind of collaborate around to get this done? So what we did here is we said, okay, now we've got a new automation project. It's a full system enhancement. We're not started. Again, we can give this dates. We can say, hey, we're probably not going to get to this till February. But it's not, not started yet, but we've got some time here before we need to do it. So again, I can come out here and in the kind of the general theme of collaboration, I can see that, now we've got a new automation project. It's a system enhancement. I can change this so that, we view it by maybe status. Maybe we're ready to move it in progress, whatever. All of the same collaboration capabilities that we talked about apply. We can comment back and forth. We can come in here and add tasks for ourselves or for other people, any number of things here. So let's do this now. Let's fast forward and let's say, you know what, this was a great idea. We went ahead and built this. We rolled it out. This is complete. Again, everything from our development team, seeing new development opportunities, new development projects, being able to see internal development requests come in, internal development projects, all of that stuff. Currently, we have housed in one workspace. Again, depending on the way that your teams operate, the way that your processes function, you might have this in different workspaces. Each client operates a little bit different. So that's something that, as a consulting firm, we would talk to you about and help you design out. But, let's say, for example, we went through and we built this out to allow the HR team collaboration. You probably aren't going to have, HR related information sitting alongside project information, whether that's internal or external projects. HR is one of those groups that really needs its own space to work and operate. So what we would do is we would create a new workspace, which is what we've done. And that is where we would handle this type of work, right? So when you're talking about low-code collaboration and automation platforms, a lot of these platforms allow you really good granularity into deciding who needs access to what information, what do they need to know about, how do they need to interact with the information, and help us keep moving the process forward, to get the work done that needs to be done. So, HR is, again, really one of those use cases that are really good to use because this is a group that, is potentially handling sensitive information. They need to live in their own workspace where they've got access to a lot of relevant data and records, but, they may need to interact with other folks who, maybe aren't yet employees of the organization if they're currently onboarding, or maybe they're employees of the organization, but they really just need to be able to submit, HR-related requests and see the status, or maybe they need to be able to approve things like time off. So, we'll walk you through a little bit of how to take that next step with those things again, now from this perspective. So now we're starting to bring multiple teams together inside our low-code platform, inside of our automation framework, and now we're really starting to get a sense for, all right, these are different processes and teams that interact with each other day to day who, historically may be working out of disconnected tools, broken business processes. It's hard to report on who needs to do what and when. Now you can start to see where we're coalescing all of this into one platform, where a lot of that work is visible, and everybody understands, what information is important, when they need to have that information, and ultimately what to do with it, to get their job done. So let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit. One of the things I'm going to go back and show, though, we probably shouldn't use this workspace for this, but we touched on this before, is the fact that, we can house these links, right? So this would probably happen, in a general, employee network page. In this case, in Podio, there's an employee network. Right now, this is the only employee in here, but you could put in here all of these helpful links to different request forms, things like that, to be able to help direct people. Again, right now we've got it kind of loaded in here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this request form, and we will see one of the things that we've got available, through our workspace to handle HR onboarding and ongoing service, is the ability to come in and do things like request time off. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go check our employees real quick and make sure I know which one has which email here. Let's see. Okay, so let's go as Zach. So let's say Zach needs to come in and he needs to request time off. Well, if we come look at Zach, actually, let's not use Zach. What we're going to do is we are going to use Lisa. Because if we go look, Lisa is set up and has an employee manager, Richard Belding, who has been assigned, through her onboarding. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's just say Lisa needs to come in and say, you know what, I need to make a request for time off. I'm going to be off for 10 days, and I'm going to be gone the 22nd through the 2nd. Will be out of the country. So let's go ahead and submit that. So just like in our other workspace where we had, new project ideas or automation ideas coming in this case, now we're able to help the HR team capture new requests for time off. So we can come in, we can see that the employee who requested this was Lisa. We can see it was assigned to Richard Belding. We can see it's new. It was a request for time off, how many days. And we've got this approval section as well. Now, again, here's where that collaboration aspect comes into play. And this being an HR workspace, maybe we don't have folks like Richard in this workspace, right? Even though he's somebody's manager, maybe we don't want him in here, with all of the other request types and HR related information. We just need him to know that Lisa had requested time off and be able to take action against that. So when we generated this, a couple of things happened. So this is still listed as Acme HR, but you can see here that Lisa got a confirmation email letting her know that they received her request for time off. She can view the status and information around this at any given time. Maybe my workflow didn't want to work there. But what we also saw is that Richard, who's using this email address, got the same request, and now is able to look at this and say, oh, okay, I remember Lisa telling me about this. I can now approve or decline. So what I'm going to do as the manager is I'm going to approve, and it's going to keep the ball rolling. So we can see here, if I refresh, we can see this was marked approved yes. The close date is today. We can see our status is now closed. And if we go back to Lisa's email, we get a confirmation that the case is closed and her request for time off has been approved. So again, we're really able to start pulling together, different teams, workflows that traverse different teams and different team members. And we're able to leverage a lot of the collaboration capabilities in these platforms, a lot of the automation capabilities based around these data structures that are really, really easy to put together. And we're able to really start making a big impact now as we mature our adoption of our low-code, collaboration and automation platforms. So, again, We're continuing to take these steps as we build things out. We're going to continue to take steps in the next video and really show you how you can really start to have organization-wide adoption of these platforms.